We are live. Hey, everybody. How's it going? Just give me a few seconds to get everything set up here and we will get rolling. Okay, great. Just going to click this here. We will be good to go. All right. Kind of sucks that I have to do that pause, but I've had some issues with the streaming software where if I don't click a certain setting, the video doesn't actually show up on my personal profile. So I have to make sure that happens now these days. So, anyways, how's it going? How are you doing? It's been a little bit since I've had a chance to get on here and record a live video, and so here I am getting the opportunity to do that today. Just gonna adjust my camera ever so slightly there. Hopefully, it doesn't knock me out of alignment. So today I'm going to be bringing in a very very awesome topic on this idea of being able to create an empowered future. So this topic right here is one that I find is so important when it comes to actually creating the life that you want. And it can be so easy to step over this topic and then we will wonder like, well, what's going on? Why can't I actually achieve the things that I want? Or why do I lose momentum? um, these areas that end up showing up for us. So I'm going to take you through some of the things that I've noticed in the conversations that I've been having, and just give you some places to look in terms of how to actually, take those steps to create this empowered future. So, as I mentioned, like this is a big part of the work I do with my coaching clients. This is generally one of the first places that we start to look at is what do you actually want? What do you actually want to create in your life? This is where I start with all my clients just to support them in getting really, really clear on this place. It's powerful work. It's what makes powerful coaching. And I just love doing this work with folks. So if you're in a place right now in your life where you're like, you know what, like I want to start exploring this. I want to start actually being at cause for the life that I want to create and start to really create a roadmap to make this and move this forward. I'm going to put two links into the chat, into the comments. One is going to be a link that talks more about the private coaching experience that I have. And then the second link is going to be a link that you could just utilize and book right to a discovery call on my calendar where we'll set up some time to be in conversation with one another. So I'm going to put those into the chat right now. So here is the first link. It talks about the coaching program. And I don't know if that actually went through. Here is the second link that just has you be able to connect right to my calendar. So it looks like it's just showing up on YouTube, so I have to fix those links afterwards. I will. I'm not going to address those right now, but those links will be there. Okay, so the first place that I just I want to sort of put a preamble in on this. And if you have any comments that you want to share throughout this conversation, or if you catch this on the replay, please feel free to put those comments into the chat. I will definitely respond to them, and it makes it so much more fun to be in conversation with others as well. So again, as I was speaking to, in the beginning of this conversation, surprisingly, it may not be surprising to you, it's kind of surprising to me, the ability to really create our future and be in the mindset of creation, the mindset of dreaming or possibility. It's something that, can be challenging for a lot of us, and me included. This definitely showed up for me for many, many years. And, yes, it still shows up for me, but I've got much more capacity with creation than I did in the past. Um, and so, a couple of things that I just really want to put into the conversation is that if you find that you're in a place of your life, you're like, man, like I really don't know, like I can't even see past the week, let alone creating the future for myself, 6 months to a year from now. Um, it's okay. Like that's where you are is where you are, and just allow that to be okay. Because here's the deal, all of us have things happening in our lives. We've got busy lives. We've got people to take care of, jobs to go to, bills to pay. And oftentimes it can just it's normal to get sort of, normal, quote unquote normal, to be bogged down by these things and not even realize that, like, we're not even giving ourselves that time and space to actually dream or create a vision or those types of things. And I'm going to touch on this a little bit more because, as adults, when we really reflect on our lives, it can be such an easy thing to just completely step over. That as we go about, our lives, we don't even realize that, like, hey, do I even have a vision for my life anymore? Do I actually really even have a dream for something that's greater or different than what might be now? And this is something that shows up very often in the initial conversations that I'm having with folks, where when I propose this conversation to people and they're very excited. They're like, "Wow, I haven't actually had the time and space to be able to explore this." And I also notice it's a place that there's a lot of struggle. When somebody is simply asked the question of what do you want in your life, people are often like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know what I want," or like, it. They really struggle with the question. So just know that that's okay. And for me as well, I find the reason why I love this conversation so much is that back in about 2020, the end of 2020, I had a conversation with a coach. Her name is Darren Bridge. Uh, Many of you who maybe watch this will know Darren. And in one of our coaching conversations that we had together, she pointed out, like, "Hey, I have a reflection for you, and it feels like you've lost your ability to dream." So think about that. For 3 years, that's been in my space. That perspective of, like, that noticing of, like, yeah, where am I empowering myself to be able to have vision, to be able to dream, and where do I potentially put barriers in the way of that? Hey, Michelle, how's it going? Yeah, Darren, got to bring her into the live. So yeah, it's I want you to know that it is really present for me. This is something that really shows up in my life. So I want to come back to that point that I was making around, just noticing as an adult that, like, that ability to dream, that ability to envision, it potentially, might have gotten away from you as you're in, like, the motions of life. And to just recognize that and allow that to be okay as you step into this new place of exploration. And then, another place just to even reflect on is, like, just think back to your childhood. Think back to when you were a kid and how easy it was to just be in the space of a dreamer, to be in the space of somebody who could envision things for life, envision all sorts of different possibilities. You know, to maybe you wanted to be like a paramedic or a firefighter or a dancer, and the possibilities go beyond that, an astronaut even, right? So all of these things as a child, they were so easy to create and cultivate because we didn't really allow things to get in the way of it. We just thought of the life that we wanted to create and we allowed ourselves to go with it. So that's even a great place to just allow yourself to sit with, is tapping into that childlike energy and really just connect to, like, what does the child want of me, want of me, what qualities can I tap into right there that will allow me to just expand on this, a little bit more. And so from here, now I'm going to start talking about some of the, we'll call them sort of the tactical steps, but just notice, like, where you get to create this for yourself. And the a couple of the places that I like to put to people is really just to think about, hey, what is it that you want to create over the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months? Because oftentimes there is sort of this, sometimes I see it, at least in the world, is like, hey, create the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, and those things are great. But when we're starting out and getting into the space of just being able to cultivate vision and possibility, of really just allowing yourself to maybe start on a bit of the smaller end, and really, it doesn't even have to be conceived as small. Envisioning our lives for the next 3 to 6 to 12 months is a powerful step to take. And with that, it actually allows us to just be in that space of expansiveness, to just connect to like how life could potentially be different in that time period. Um, and so as we start to sort of explore, those sort of timelines, I'm going to put a couple other distinctions into the space. One being that there's sort of two places that you want to look in terms of this creation, this vision. Two, it's funny as I say with it, two real important pieces to really expand on this practice. And I'm going to recollect them here in my own memory for a second. So the first one being noticing where the past influences how you look to create the future. So as I've mentioned on many of the videos that I've talked about in the past, in the past, that oftentimes where we get stopped or where things get in the way for us is that when we look to create the future, we're relying on the past. We're relying on past experiences, how things have gone, in our past, right? There may have been a dating experience that went wrong, or maybe a job interview that didn't go well, or maybe you had an experience that felt like it limited your capacity to contribute to the world. So notice those things in your life that, by being in the space of those pieces, how it could potentially impact how you're seeing the future to be created. So that's sort of one place just to look, is like, where are those past influences coming in? And this is a really sneaky piece. I see it all the time in conversations where people start to get into the space of creation and possibility. And all of a sudden, you can start to hear in the conversation, like, oh, that kind of feels limiting, or like, what has it that this person is sort of playing small? And oftentimes, the first place to reflect on is those past influences. I've only been able to show up a certain way in a relationship. So, the changes that I'm going to look to make are quite small, or can I even make those changes at all? Um, yeah, and then the next place to look at in this process of visioning and dreaming is really exploring, is this going to be a predictable pathway for me, or is this going to be a pathway of possibility? And this is one that I actually have some of a different perspective on, especially when you're in the beginning stages of just exploring your vision, exploring your future. Sometimes playing in this land of the probability is still a great step. Maybe you just need to get that workout plan in place, or maybe you need to make those small steps for health goals to start creating that momentum. And as you start to create that momentum, what we want to start to do is starting to expand on our levels of possibility, to really start to reach, to dream of, what could my life be at the fullest potential? Where could I actually really move myself towards that would really create a great life? I'm going to pause there. I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to just catch my breath for a moment and just, reflect on this myself. So, and let me know if you have any questions, from what you've heard so far. So, again, really treat this as like a muscle. The ability to envision, to dream, it's a muscle just like anything else. And it starts with putting it into practice. And so, one other piece that I would bring into the conversation is that simply to start allowing yourself to explore. What are 2 to 3 areas of your life where you could see yourself stepping into the future creation? Some places to look might be your relationships, your intimate relationships, your career, your health and fitness, your lifestyle, travel, experiences, relationship with kids, personal development experiences, and again, don't overwhelm yourself. Maybe just start with a few areas, but that's sort of the mentality that really can be supportive, is one, looking at 3 to 12 months, looking at a period of time where you can be in that space of creation, and then starting to look at these areas of life that would be really meaningful for you. Mm. Gonna sit with that for a moment to see what else I want to share around that. Yeah. And the last piece that I'm going to bring into the conversation is just notice, as you're in this exploration of vision, possibility, dreaming, notice if there's any judgment coming up. Notice if there's any frustration that comes up in the process as well. Maybe you think that you're not doing it well. Maybe you think that you don't have the ability to dream, or you just don't get it. Allow all of that to be in the space, because again, as I mentioned before, this is like building a muscle. This is a practice. And so really just allowing yourself to be with all that's in the space, and just start to get comfortable with this process of giving yourself the time to explore, giving yourself this time to just envision the life that you want to create a little bit more. So I'm going to just pause there for a moment, see if there's anything in space. No. So again, as I mentioned before, like, this is a place that I will often start in conversation with others. When it comes into getting to know people a little bit better, and really really just being in the space of creation. This is a space that I really hold for others to just explore. It's really helpful for people to have, myself, or other coaches, on the other end of the line, who can just hold that space for them, and both hold the space and challenge them to reach a little bit more and a little bit more, and really just again connect to, hey, what would be a fulfilled life for you? What would be a life of your greatest dreams, and working towards that in terms of the vision? Um, so, and I was thinking about this before. This could be a great practice to bring to people in your life. Maybe you have a friend or a family member that you could invite into a conversation and just say, "Hey, I watched this video on creating an empowered future. There are some points in this video that resonated with me, and I want you to hold the space for me to support me if there are moments where it feels like I'm diving into the past, or the past is influencing how I'm creating the future, and potentially even challenge me to reach a little bit more. If this is something that you're interested in, take it on, and invite somebody into that conversation. And I'd love to hear how that goes for you. So I'm going to end the video here for today. Again, if you have any questions, any curiosities about anything that's been shared in this video, please feel free to put it in the comments, or send me a message as well. I'm happy to respond, because as I said, like, this is a place that lights me up. I have a lot of fun exploring these areas with the people in my life. And again, if this is something that you would like to be in conversation with me around, I'm going to be putting links into the chat. One where you're going to get to find out more about the one-on-one coaching work that I do, and how I support people in these conversations, because this really builds the foundation of the work that we do together. And if you check out that page, you're interested in the coaching that I do, you'll also find a link in the chat where you can book a call with me on my calendar, and we can actually have this conversation together. So that's it for today. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.